I've got a keyboard over here, and I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit. So you can see that I just spilled a big glass of water, and it is all inside the keyboard there. Now, it might have fried the circuit. The minute that happened, I unplugged the keyboard. You don't want electricity inside something that can short it out. Water will short things out. So what I've done, I've unplugged the keyboard. Now I'm going to be using a heat gun to try to dry out the water. I don't even want to turn this upside down. The best thing to do, leave it alone. Get in there with a heat gun. You could leave it alone and let it dry out over a couple days, but it might corrode the circuit. So the best thing you can do is use a heat gun or a hair dryer on a low temperature. Try to keep, if you have control of the fan inside there, that's good. Turn it down to low so you don't blow the water all over. If you have a hair dryer, keep it on low, or just keep it at a far distance so that you can dry this thing out. And if things work out the right way, everything should power back up and it should work again. It's a hard statement to make because the circuit might have gotten shorted out while it was plugged in. So let me get the heat gun. So I'm going to be using a heat gun now. And you can see the water moving around in there. You can see it in between the A and the S key. And the whole goal is just to dry this thing out now. I'm using about 160 degrees. I'll try to zoom in a little bit so you can see the water in there. If you don't have a heat gun or a hair dryer, then another really good thing to use is an air compressor. If you've got an air compressor, you should run that thing for a few minutes to blow all the water out of this thing, out of your keyboard, and make sure that there is no moisture in there. If you have a shop vac with a blower attachment on it, then blow the air through there. I'm going to press the button on the keyboard. My Windows thing came up just now. Let me press it again. Okay, that's a good sign. That's a very good sign that the keyboard might be working. I got a Microsoft keyboard here that I wanted to show you what it looks like on the inside. Most of us don't get to see what's in the inside of the keyboard. You can see over here that I took it apart, and that is the right side of the keyboard. And I'm going to turn that over in a minute so you can see what that looks like. Over here we have the left side of the keyboard that I removed. Let me show you how I did that. It's definitely not easy. You can see over here there are 4 tangs right over there, and there are 4 tangs over here, one over there, and there are 2 hiding down on the side. Well, that's for the side part over there. One over here, one over here, one over there, one over there, and one down. No, then one down over here. Okay, so there's 4, and then there are 4. I think there's 4 on the right side. So once you remove, you got to take all the screws out on the bottom. Be really careful about labeling them or laying them out properly because they are different lengths, and it's not going to go together if you put the wrong screws in. So, and the long screws, if you put them in, you're going to break something. So make sure you line it up the right way. Once you pull the keyboard out, you've got this pad here. So normally when you spill water in your keyboard, it goes down in here and goes between the layers, and it stays in there and causes a huge problem. Let me see if I can lift this up now. So this is what's inside the keyboard. You can see the circuitry underneath. And again, if you spill a liquid in there, you're going to end up shorting things out. It's going to make contact somehow, so you need to, it's cheaper, probably easier just to buy a whole new keyboard if you do spill dirt or liquid in there. But you can see a lot of dirt there and grease. The way they line these things up, you see the little black knobs over there, over here. So when you put this thing back together, you're going to need to make sure that it's on these little posts and everything is lined up properly. You can see the posts over here. And if you look over on the left over here, you see this darker area? You see this? That's where I spilled a big glass of water. You see all this moisture over here? All in here. And I used a heat gun and I used a fan and I tried to dry it out. And it obviously did not get in between the layers over there because I'm having a problem with the keyboard now. So that's why I took it apart. Maybe it will fix it, maybe it won't, but you want to make sure that you have absolutely no moisture underneath these pads on your keyboard. Now I've got a fan that I am pointing towards all this moisture. I changed the lighting, but I think you can see over here. It's all wet in here. It's all wet inside there. So I don't really want to lift this layer up because it is held down here and it's lined up so the keyboard works properly. But I am going to position a fan and get the air flowing in here to dry this whole thing out. You can see it's slowly starting to dry right now. There's an incredible amount of moisture under this. I'm going to lift this up a little bit. You can see right now, you can see those little marks of moisture over there. That's water. So if you don't get this, you might be able to put this in a warm area, stick it in the sun and hope that it dries out over a while, but I had a heat gun on this thing at 200 degrees for a long time and it was not able to dry. You can see there's more moisture. It was not able to dry the moisture from the bottom, so I'm going to wipe everything up on both sides. And one of the reasons it is shorting out is because of there are two layers of this material, and you press on the keypad, on the keys, it presses on that rubber piece over here, and then it presses down on the top, and it makes contact. This piece over here will make contact with the piece on the bottom, and that's how you complete your circuit. And you can see that there's water in between the layers of these two. So this would take a long, long time to dry if you did not take this apart. On the left side, you can see that there is this, looks like the plastic was staked together, and it was. It's being held together. Those two layers are held together at that one point. So be really careful that you don't separate this. You can put a cloth in here if you need to. Try not to use lint. You don't want to use a paper towel, which is what I ended up using, but you can separate these two layers. And you can see that it stays together over there. So that's the alignment. Don't go in here and start disconnecting the center piece, even though you can. There's another staked area on the right side. And I really don't know if this is going to fix the problem. There is one layer here, there is one layer here, there is one layer here. So there are 3 layers. You're dealing with a lot of drying out. There's probably going to be a lot of moisture in these layers if you spilled something. And you're going to have to separate them and get some air in here so that it can dry out. The problem with the right side is that it goes all the way underneath the keypad. And again, if you want to remove that, you have to be really careful with this. But what I did is I put a blade, a screwdriver underneath here, very light pressure, while I used another blade and tried to slide this tang away. Make sure it doesn't slip onto the material, but it is doable. And once you get two sides out, the other, you just angle it and it will come out. So as far as drying out the right side, the right way to do it would be to take off the keypad, which I am not going to do. I don't want to do that. And if you don't do that, then you just have to lift these 3 layers up and get a fan in there, or use a magnifier and make sure that there really is no dirt or moisture in the 3 layers, in between the 2 layers, or 3 layers actually. And after you get both sides dry, then you should be able to close things up. That's assuming that you don't have moisture underneath the keypad, which I could. It's hard to say. I didn't really want to, but I ended up removing the keypad anyway. There are 4 clips, 1, 2, 3, there's one up there, 4, 5. What you need to do is take these 2 out and then get in here and pry this one up, and then you can slide the keypad out. So I don't know, I'm going to take this thing off now, and hopefully I can get underneath here and make sure that I have no moisture in between the 3 layers. And just like I assumed, that's why I did it, by taking off the keypad. It allows you to get to the different layers. Be careful with this little piece over here. It was difficult to remove this. You can see that little hole over there. So you got to be careful that you don't tear everything, but you can lift up the layers and get in between there all the way to the other side. Just make sure that you don't tear that little piece over there, and you can make sure everything's dry in between all 3 of those layers. I'm still on the right side of the keyboard, and I've lifted up all 3 layers. I'm able to get in there and wipe all the dirt off the back of this, and then I will lay each layer down, make sure there's no moisture or dirt in between each layer, and then it will be time to start putting on the rubber pieces and putting the thing back together. There's a cable connector on the other end, and I believe that I could slide the whole connector cable, maybe not, but you can lift all of this, both sides of this, all 3 layers. The only place you can't lift it is where it's staked down in these 2 points. So you are able to almost butterfly this thing, lift up the wings on both sides, get into all 3 layers, wipe everything down, dry it all out, get it all cleaned up, and then make sure that you line everything up on the little tabs over here. That's how they do their alignment. That brown gunky stuff that was over there that you see on the cloth, that is not glue. So these should be completely clean, white, no hair pieces, no dried on soda or liquid or food or anything. It should just be a clean white piece of rubber. I've got the rubber keypad piece lined up on the posts. I'm going to inspect the top of the keyboard and the bottom of the keyboard on the keypad section, and if everything looks good, then I'm going to insert the keypad. This is the keypad. There's a lot of dirt, a lot of gunky stuff in the center over here, and since it is removed, you may as well clean it. This is the bottom. Okay, that wasn't good. So you can see that you press on the keypad, this piece will press against this plastic piece, which will press downward, and it will cause the 3, see, I think you can see it. Presses downward and causes these pads to make contact, and then it sends your signal to the computer. So clean everything up while you can if you want to. I washed this with a cleaning solution. I lined this thing up on the right side, snap the top piece on, snap the left pieces on, It feels springy, so I could only assume that I got everything lined up properly. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the right side. When they assemble these are done, they're put together in a clean room. It's an extremely clean, filtered room. And they do this with gloves, or a machine might be putting this together, so that way you don't have any dust or particles in there. Both sides of the keyboard are cleaned and dry. My advice to you, if you were going to be taking this apart, trying to clean everything, hoping that it's going to work, I would put this in a bucket with some cleaner and water and swish it around so you don't have to use a brush, and that way I will get way between these pieces. Even after I used the brush, I didn't get it all clean, so I had to go in there and do more cleaning. And then after that, if it's daytime, it would be so much easier to put this outside and let the sun dry it. Even with a fan and a heat gun and flapping this thing around, you can see these pieces over here, the water gets stuck inside these, and it's very difficult to dry. So if you can just let this air dry with some heat hitting it, that would make it a lot better. Then you don't have to bang this thing around and keep inspecting to make sure there's no moisture inside here. I'm going to put these two pieces on now. For the right side, what I did is I held the keyboard in both hands, and then I slid these two tabs underneath the holders, and then I pressed them in on the left side. What's behind it is this connector that I've been thrashing around while I've been spinning this thing back and forth, and that is part of the top of the keyboard. So I'm going to get this thing positioned in here and start putting some screws back in. What you're going to do is take the front cover, the top cover, lay it on the table, and then after you get that done, you've got screws that have to be put in over here, over here. These are all different size screws, so make sure you put them in a proper order, or tape them down or mark them so that you can screws over here, screws over there. There's going to be a screw here, a screw there, a screw there, a screw there. There's going to be a screw to hold down this connector piece over here. Over on these tangs, there is a screw over there to hold the box, the back to the front. So make sure you do a lot of good labeling or taping so that you can get this back together properly. This is the bottom side of the case. You will have to put a screwdriver in here to separate this little tang that is holding this frame on. You're going to have to do that on the left side, and you're going to have to do it on the right side. You're going to see it in a minute when I press down. It's not seated properly right now, but there is a tang over there, and that's what you're going to have to put a screwdriver in between both sides of this case so that you can get that tang away and remove the two pieces. This is the bottom of the case. You will have a small black screw going there. You will have a small black screw on the other side down there, and you will have a small black screw over here. After you get those three screws mounted, you will take this unit and place it inside here so that you can start mounting your screws that will hold the connector down over there. You're going to have two over here. I think you're going to have two out over here, and I believe we're going to have a couple over here. It took a while, but I figured it out. Everything has small screws on the bottom except these two, which are the long threaded screws. Everything has short screws. The two in the center above the label have the long, they look like wooden screws almost. So it's all closed up now. Looks like a brand new, I didn't clean the top, but it looks like a brand new keyboard. Everything has been cleaned up inside. The water has been removed. I don't know if everything's going to be working though. So here's the big test. I'm going to plug it in now and see if I have the intermittence that I had before. I plugged the keyboard in and I heard a little beep, 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 so that's a good sound that it detected it. Let me press the Windows button and see what happens. Wow. Windows button just came up. I was able to type Notepad, which is an incredibly good thing. Now, let me type. Okay, so I've got some the keyboard's working. Did I just successfully disassemble this whole thing, clean it up, wash it down, and make it work again? I was having a problem with the key, the U key, the letter U. It was popping up another menu, so let me press that right now, and if that menu comes up, then this didn't fix it. Oh my gosh, I fixed it. Unbelievable. Everything seems to be working. Let's try the keypad. Do number lock. Lock. Oh, I got worried for a second. I was pressing the wrong key. Okay. All right, there we go. That is how you take apart a Microsoft. It's not a Microsoft, it's a Fellows keyboard, a Fellows microband keyboard, but it would be the same thing with Microsoft. Let me get you a model number. There it is, a Fellows model number King Union 9938, KU-9938. This has been the assembly, disassembly, and removal of water in between the layers of the keyboard, along with cleaning and removing the keyboard and the keypad. If this video saved you some money replacing a keyboard, please go to my channel page, click on the support button, and leave a donation. Do a thumbs up, a subscribe, a like. If you enjoyed this, feel free to link it to any other website, and make sure you watch all my other videos. Thank you very much. Happy typing!